Well, this is the Harmon 50th anniversary pellet stove that I bought about 2013. Making a loud noise. I don't use it very often anymore because I have a heat pump up here. This heat pump is more simpler to operate. You don't have to do near as much cleaning and stuff on it. So I only use this maybe 4 or 5 bags just to run it in the summer or winter. And started making a loud noise. I'm thinking a lot of it rusted up or whatever from sitting here and not being used, I guess. Didn't want to turn, finally got it to turn and heard a loud clinging. And the motor inside, which is this motor right here, this is a new one. These are replacement parts, a motor and a belt. I mean, a motor and a fan blade. One of these blades had totally broken off and all rusted through, so I had to get new. So for my first time, I'm going to try to get this stuff apart and pull that motor out and see what I actually have to do with it. First thing you got to do is get these two, well, you want to make sure it's unplugged, which it is unplugged. But you loosen these two screws up right here. And this back plate just slides off. Because you have to do this when you're going to clean it. So that plate just slides off. And in here, you can see right there is the motor and the housing. You've actually got right here, and here are 2 wing nuts. Then you got this long bolt down here underneath that it sets on and supports. So you got to loosen them up enough to twist this and turn it to pull the whole motor housing part out. I don't have no fancy cameras or nothing like that. All I have is a little $75 camera that I use for pretty much everything. Getting up down here anymore ain't easy. As you get older and older, it sure gets a lot harder. Before, these screws were real rusty. Had to use channel locks to break them loose and get them partly loose, because they set in there and just rusted up. So last time I was in here, I did put oil on them, but you can still feel the difference in them. Then your motor just slides and clicks out. You want to make sure when you put it back on top that your wires and stuff are on the top. You can see here the fan blade, a lot of it's coming apart, and over here one of the bottom pieces broke off. So this was actually out of balance and hitting as it turned, because this bottom piece had broke off and this was just flying around. So I've got to get this off here. There's an Allen screw here, but a lot of them say they've had to even cut the shafts to get these things off. So I can't say for sure. Definitely out of balance because of that. But the motor was alright. Also, before you start pulling and yanking on everything, your cord that's plugged into the wall, that it isn't now, but it's actually got a little, these wires are wire tied around here, and then this big electric cord which goes into these two places, it is actually bolted in to right here, so you got to, that has to all be taken off before you can start pulling some of these wires apart. Well, I had about 15 different kinds of Allen wrenches. They're either too big or too small. So I went downstairs, checked on these ones that I had bought before. It's kind of got a star type, and that's the only one that I find will fit and turn this Allen screw, and it's a T25, something a little different. These also come with a the new ones come with a black wire, and a green wire, which is a ground. No directions to show or tell you anything. And my old one is a green for ground, a white, and a black. So you can't just go by matching up the wires. Like I said, there's no directions or anything to show you anything. I deal with, these are coming apart and separating, and this one blade right here, like I showed before, is broken on the bottom, and it's very, very loose. So everything is out of balance because of it. This gives you a little idea how out of balance and shaky it is, just due to that one blade. But what I see on here, I've unplugged it, what I see on here, in order to get this motor here loose, looks like I'm going to have to, the other wires don't seem like they want to stretch far enough to go from down here up to where I got to put them in at. So I'm going to just cut this cord right here, because there's no way of getting these off this motor without cutting my cord. So I'm going to have to, well, on this old motor, this Allen head right here, it's totally different than the new one. It's smaller, and it won't take a T25 or none of these here, so I have to take it downstairs and go back to my old Allen wrenches and see what's going to happen. Well, this set screw in here is so rusted and so bad, after about 9 years, nothing will work to get it off. I got to have this plate here to put back on the new motor, and I was hoping to save this motor and just buy a $15 blade, but that ain't going to work, because I have to have this plate to be able to put on the other. You can cut this different ways. So I've bent all these fans blades back out, so I had a little room in here. And just I've already cut a lot of the way through this. As you can see right there, that's the old rusty blade. I'll clean this plate here up. I bent them fan blade fins up so I had room to get in there and cut, because this plate has to go back on the other unit, but that runt this motor just due to the fact I had to cut the shaft off. Another thing I just found out, when you put this back together, this plate on this motor, these screws are very small. And they're partly rusted from the inside, so they want to start pulling right through the whole entire thing when you try to tighten them up. Even though I'm not over tightening them, and they're special little ones that lock in place, but that could happen to where you try to put it back together and they pull all the way through and then you can't bolt it down. Got the wires here reconnected. Then I'll put this motor housing and everything back in there. And it works like it's supposed to. It turns real well. The other one was worse shape than I realized. And then I'll take some things and tie some of this stuff back up. When you put this back in here, it just goes in here and it turns to the right, locks it in place. Then you tighten all your bolts back up. That should take care of it. I'll plug the motor in and see what it sounds like, what takes place.